So building that diversity of product was shockingly difficult. It was absolutely shockingly difficult. As an example, we, within 2 months, got 10,000 email addresses of tour guides. We emailed them, 10,000, and saying, free website, join us for free. We will give you clients. They will book your tours, your sightseeing tours, and you only pay us 10% of the booking. So it's cost you nothing, you only pay us 10% when you get a booking. Less than 1% of those tour guides actually registered. I was in shock. I was saying, this is a free business proposition for you to increase your client base. And it's just amazing. They never heard of our Explorer before, they never saw our brand before. So on the email, they thought, oh, is this a scam? So I was put on the back foot. I thought at least 20% would sign up. So I really had to work hard with my staff, encouraging tour guides to register. So that's the quantity of tour guides. But then the other shocking thing was the quality of tour guides. So finally we got Pablo in Buenos Aires in Argentina to sign up.
Yeah. But
there, Pablo, you haven't put a photograph of yourself, mate. How do you expect somebody from the United States to book you if you don't even have a photo? And you don't have a price? Like, how much are you per hour, per day? You don't have a license. So we continuously had to push our suppliers, our product, to increase the quality.
Yeah, okay.
And like the example in Castlereagh Street of having a handbag shop, you can't just have tacky handbags. You know, you have to have hundreds of quality handbags, you know, different handbags. For us, in the tour guide example, it was definitely my most difficult stage of those 3 stages. The final stage, which is driving traffic to your website, is something I'm sure your audience have read about before. It's SEO, search engine optimization, and then SEM, search engine marketing, which includes Google AdWords. The third one then is partnerships. Okay. So Flight Centre, somebody books a flight in Flight Centre for Shanghai, and then we offer them a Shanghai tour guide because we know they're going to Shanghai, they just booked a flight. So partnership is the third. So that was building traffic to our website. So they're the
okay, so let's get into some of the marketing and online marketing for this business.
Yep.
I'm really interested to hear about that. Let's start with that. I mean, you said the first business was, I mean, Shanghai Vision was your first business and it was an offline business.
Yep.
I gather based on that though, you probably didn't know too much about online marketing when you got into the second one.
Zero, mate.
Okay, so
yeah, nothing.
I had a similar circumstance when I started my last business. My question is, how did you go about learning all this online marketing strategies and such?
Absolutely. So my philosophy was to learn 80% of the main functions of online marketing. So to learn the 80% quick hits of SEO, search engine optimization, to learn the 80% top things to do in Google AdWords and how to maximize your click-through rate and the landing page that your clients are landing on, etc.
Yes.
So that's what I did. So there was a lot of self-education and some third parties I used here in Sydney, Australia, professionals in that field. So first point was learn yourself. So I educated myself with some ebooks with titles such as The 100 Things You Need to Know About SEO.
Yeah.
So once you've read 2 or 3 of those, a pattern emerges. It's not rocket science. Third or fourth book you read repeats a lot of what you know already. So then you go, oh my goodness, I must know about 80% of what's needed to know. Then you push the button on a provider, a specialist in that area. And knowing some stuff yourself, you can have an educated conversation with that provider and try to get the last bit of juice out of the SEO puzzle. Because they're the professional, you know the basics, so they should have the extra bit that you don't know.
Yeah.
And I did the exact same for Google AdWords. Learned a lot of it myself, and then when I felt I had 80% learned, I went to a professional that I got recommended and tried to learn that last bit by paying them, of course.
Yeah. Okay, just on that, and let me know if you disagree. it's my view that having, I guess, studied a lot of this internet marketing stuff as well, it's my view that the far majority of that 80% is available for free or close to free online.
I agree.
You don't need to go paying, I don't know, thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars for some DVD course or seminars or whatever it is. Most of it is free.
I agree.
Yeah, okay.
The low-hanging fruit.
Yep.
Okay.
So if you're just starting out, guys, get the low-hanging fruit, get the free stuff first. There's plenty of it available, and as Dave said, see the patterns amongst it that they're all saying, and clearly that's the stuff that's real and is working.
Absolutely.
Okay, so in terms of SEO, let's talk about SEO for a moment.
Yes.
What are some examples of some quick things that you can do quick SEO strategies that work for you?
Absolutely. I try to funnel or silo my learning. So SEO for me is in two parts.
Yes.
Part one is on-page SEO.
Yep.
That's stuff that's in your control because you have control over what words appear on your website. So the on-page SEO is something you can have an immediate effect for your website. So, and then there's off-page SEO, which is the linking. You know, having lots of links to www.ourexplorer.com throughout all the travel websites, Facebook, LinkedIn, the social media, etc. But before that, which I didn't know, before on-page and off-page SEO, the key to SEO is getting the keywords.
Yes.
So that's point number one. If you have a website and you're trying to optimize the website for SEO purposes, it's critical that you do a lot of research on the best keywords for your business. For an example, for me, there was tour guide, tourist guide, and private guide. So three words that, three phrases that equal the same product, which was my website, ourexplorer.com. Now, some of those words, like private guides, didn't have a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
Let's say less than 50,000 visitors per month in the US looking for this keyword. So we chose not to use that terminology. So if you go to ourexplorer.com, you'll see on the description for the homepage, we use the word tour guides and singular tour guide because that has the most traffic. So the hierarchy was tour guide had the highest traffic, then tourist guide, then private guide. So really invest in determining what your top 10 keywords is for your business, and then use those top 10 keywords for your business or your industry in the on-page SEO and the off-page linking. So that was my big lesson. There's lots of free tools. Keyword Finder, just Google finding the best keywords, and you can use those free tools to determine the traffic for various keywords. So yeah, so that's my first lesson in SEO, and then the second lesson in SEO is the quick hits is on page. You can determine what your description says on each page, the meta tags, what's physically written on the page. You determine the copyright. So use that to your advantage. The heading of the page, the actual URL, the domain name. Have your keyword in the domain name if possible. If not, in the main domain name as a sub-domain name. So that's in your control, so it's a quick hit.
Yeah.
So stuff those 10 top keywords in your website. The second part of offline SEO, that's very hard, very time consuming. This is where you have to have www.ourexplorer in as many relevant websites around the world as possible. So social media, you have your Facebook page, your LinkedIn page, your Twitter, and all that's about really is having your URL in as many pages as possible. You can put your URL in directories. The more relevant the websites you put your URL in, the better. So for me it was travel, so I always tried to put my URL in travel blogs, travel directories, travel websites. Putting them on a gardening website doesn't really give me much power in Google's eyes. But it's a lot of work, it's continuous work, You know, you may, as I mentioned some examples, you may have your own Facebook page, you may have your own Twitter page, you may have your own blog. But all these have to be updated regularly.
Yeah.
With words, with videos, with pictures. Flickr page, we had a Flickr page. And just, you know, I've mentioned so many examples from the top of my head, but that's a lot of work. Somebody has to update that with meaningful, engaging content every day. So SEO is slow, and be prepared for a lot of work with little results for the first 6 to 12 months, unfortunately.
Okay, but what about SEM, so AdWords?
Yeah.
I would have thought, I mean, obviously you can get quicker results with that, but talk me through that. How did you, less so how did you learn it, but more so what are some good tips that you've got there to make it work?
Yeah. What I learned about SEM is it's expensive.
Okay.
Depending on your keyword, so something like cheap flights, I would guess is definitely over $1 in cost. If somebody clicked that, so if you had keyword cheap flights in your Google AdWords campaign, and somebody clicked your ad, I'd say that keyword is maybe even $2 or $5, so it's very expensive. So the lesson I learned about Google AdWords is it's expensive, so do testing, because you don't want to be generating a large bill of $500 a week if there's no conversion at the end of it.
Yeah.
So $500 might bring 100 or 500 clients to your website, but they're looking at the home page and bouncing off. That's quite expensive unless they're purchasing something from your page. So there are two lessons. Another lesson is the landing page is all about the conversion.
Yeah.
So having a good landing page that's relevant to the keyword. So if people are looking for private guides, on your landing page, don't have the terminology tour guide or tourist guide. Have the terminology private guides, because that's what they like. Another famous example in travel is vacation versus holiday.
Yeah, okay.
In the US, they use the terminology vacation. I'm going on vacation. Whereas in Australia and UK and Ireland, we tend to say a holiday. So again, if your Google AdWords has vacation in it, make sure your landing page is also vacation.
Yeah.
So create a new page, a new landing page for that. That will increase conversion. On increasing click-through rate, so the number of people that actually click your ad, that's all about the words you use. So if your ad has something like free, people tend to love that word. So, you know, or 50% discount from tour guides. But obviously you have to honor that promise.
Yes.
So getting people to click on your ad without actually delivering the promise is very expensive. Because guess what? They will bounce away.
Yeah.
So you might be very clever. If your objective is to get a 5% click-through rate, you might think you're very clever, you put in the word free, and you will get your 5% click-through rate or 2.5% click-through rate. But guess what? Your bounce rate will be 100%.
Yeah, okay. So
your conversion will be 0.
Yeah.
But in summary, SEM, Google AdWords as an example of SEM, is very complex. It takes time to build up a click-through rate, and I learned that 2 to 2.5% click-through rate is a darn good job. If you're at that level, be very happy, and there's not much more you can do in general. That's a really, really good job. If you're at 1% or less, there are more things you can do to get it up to 2 or 2.5% click-through rate.
Yeah.